Part 1. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 1. His head was dizzy, his throat was dry, and the feeling of a hangover made Lu Feng want to vomit. But the empty stomach has nothing to spit out. He opened his eyes, as if he had exhausted all his strength, and what he saw was a crowded small room, lying on a wooden bed, and the surrounding environment was very old, exuding a musty smell. Where is this? No one answered him. There was a red bucket not far away. Lu Feng stood up and stood in front of the bucket, scooping up half a scoop of cold water and gulping it down. Finally feeling a lot more comfortable, Lu Feng raised his head and looked stupid in the mirror in front of him. In the mirror is a man with messy hair, in his 20s, wearing a labor insurance camouflage uniform on the upper body and a pair of worn suit pants on the lower body. The complexion is dry and thin, like perennial malnutrition. Lu Feng's hands trembled a little, he touched his face, it felt so real. Who is this? It's not me. A tingling sensation rushed into his brain, directly making his fragile body unable to carry it, half kneeling in front of the bucket and gasping for breath. Some chaotic memories emerged in front of him. Lu Feng, 24 years old, primary school education, married for 4 years, his wife's name is Zhang Xiaoyan, he has a child, he is unemployed, he has been idle since he was a child, and he fights everywhere. He likes to gamble. He often beats his wife. Do not. These memories make Lu Feng's mind very confused, mixed with his memories. He is also called Lu Feng, 35 years old, graduate from a key university, chairman of 2 listed companies, worth over 2.7 billion in 2020, just been rated as the top 10 outstanding young talents, not married yet. Lu Feng sorted out his memory, raised his head abruptly, and looked at the month sign on the wall, his whole body froze on the spot like a lightning strike. The date on the month card is astonishingly, the early 1990s. 2 hours later, Lu Feng finally digested the memory in his mind. This is simply a tragic love story of this era. Lu Feng and Zhang Xiaoyan met on a blind date. Since Lu Feng dropped out of school since he was a child, he did not learn any craftsmanship. Is unstable. Zhang Xiaoyan refused to have sex, and wanted to force Lu Feng to do so, and proposed to work in the city. Unexpectedly, just a few days after working in the factory, Lu Feng met a group of friends. He learned a lot about eating, drinking, prostitutes, gambling, and gambling. After being fired from the factory, he drank every day. Such Lu Feng made Zhang Xiaoyan even more afraid to give himself to him, but some old people told her that it would be good to have a child, and men are all running around for their children. A few months later, Zhang Xiaoyan adopted a half-year-old daughter, but Lu Feng did not change much. Zhang Xiaoyan thought about divorce, but in this day and age, divorce is something a woman dare not think about. Yesterday, when Lu Feng came back after drinking, he beat her up and lay on the bed and fell asleep. Unexpectedly, this sleep will bring the current Lu Feng to the present. There was a sound of the door opening, interrupting Lu Feng's memories. He looked up at the door. The door opened, and a pink girl ran in. When she saw Lu Feng half kneeling in front of the bucket, the smile on her face instantly turned into fear, as if she had seen a demon. "Mom, he's awake." The little guy hugged a slender thigh tightly, and Lu Feng looked up. It was a beautiful girl, 1.7 meters tall, with delicate features and big bright eyes. The pure energy on her body will definitely kill all female internet celebrities on the internet after many years. It's just the fear in her eyes and the bruises on her face that ruined everything. Looking at each other, Lu Feng was a little embarrassed, and slowly raised his hand to say hello, "How are you guys?" Zhang Xiaoyan had never heard her husband speak so softly. She stood there for a while, then lowered her head and said, "Are you hungry? I'll cook." "Thank you," Lu Feng said. Zhang Xiaoyan thought there was something wrong with her ears. She stared at him with wide eyes, and asked in disbelief, "What did you say?" "I say thank you." Zhang Xiaoyan smiled a bit miserably. Said, "You're welcome, next time you hit me, just hit me lightly." Lu Feng wanted to tell her that the one who beat her yesterday was not him, but when he thought about what he said, no one would believe him. That is, he now doubted whether he was dreaming. Although Zhang Xiaoyan was only 23 years old, she was very agile in the kitchen. She sighed while looking at the things in the kitchen. It was difficult for a clever woman to cook without rice. There was only a bunch of noodles and 2 eggs left at home. This family is supported by her working 2 jobs. Originally, she had saved hundreds of dollars and was taken away by Lu Feng and put it on the gambling table. Now this family is really a family. Lu Feng drank another half scoop of cold water, regained some strength, sat back on the bed and looked at this pink little guy. If I remember correctly, her name was Duo. 2, come here. The little guy took a step back with a face full of fear, holding the worn doll tightly in his arms. Lu Feng sighed a little helplessly. In her eyes, she might be more terrifying than a demon. She can only say that Lu Feng's death was a fortunate thing. Duo, help mom get the dishes. Zhang Xiaoyan's voice came from the kitchen, very brisk. If this home does not have Lu Feng, I believe it will be more warm. Duo flew to the kitchen, skillfully took out 3 pairs of chopsticks, and a plate of pickles. Zhang Xiaoyan brought out 3 large bowls and placed them on the dilapidated table. Boiled noodles in white water, each bowl had a piece of green vegetables, only Lu Feng's bowl had 2 poached eggs, which looked so dazzling. This is the family practice, no matter what is delicious, it must be put in Lu Feng's bowl, otherwise he will definitely put the bowl on Zhang Xiaoyan's head. Let's eat. Zhang Xiaoyan sat across the table, without even looking at Lu Feng, smiled at Duo and said, "You are growing, eat quickly." This meal was definitely the worst meal Lu Feng had ever eaten. Zhang Xiaoyan noticed that Lu Feng didn't move his chopsticks, and said, "There's no soy sauce at home, don't get mad, just eat whatever you want. If you want something good, you can find your buddies." Very good. Lu Feng picked up his chopsticks, picked up the poached egg in his bowl, and put it in a bowl of Toto. Duo's eyes widened at the eggs in the bowl, and then at Zhang Xiaoyan, who dared not move his chopsticks. Lu Feng put another poached egg in Zhang Xiaoyan's bowl. Zhang Xiaoyan felt that today's Lu Feng was exceptionally abnormal. From the moment he entered the door, he was different from before. All she could think of was that Lu Feng asked for money again. The family really has no money, and I can't pay my salary in advance. If this continues, Duo and I will really starve to death. Zhang Xiaoyan's voice was full of pleading. She was afraid that Lu Feng would be annoyed and beaten and kicked again. Tears fell into the bowl as she spoke. "Mom doesn't cry, Mom doesn't cry." Duo quickly wiped away Zhang Xiaoyan's tears. I didn't say I wanted money." Lu Feng was most afraid of women's tears, and he was in a hurry for a while, not knowing what to do, and hurriedly said, "I don't work now, you go to work every day, Duo is growing again, and eggs are for you too." This kind of caring words can come out of Lu Feng's mouth. Zhang Xiaoyan felt that her 3 views had been subverted, and she raised her head to see Lu Feng's face full of disbelief. This person, he, has a sex change. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 2. The noodles in the bowl were swept away like a wind and clouds, and Lu Feng picked up the bowl and drank the soup. In the past, he shared his poor childhood and the hardships of his entrepreneurial years on many occasions. Now, when he compares them, he realizes how happy he was at that time. Zhang Xiaoyan stood up and was about to clean up the dishes. Lu Feng hurriedly said, "I'll come, I'm already very embarrassed to eat for nothing." Zhang Xiaoyan was stunned for a moment. The tableware and chopsticks in his hand had already been taken away. Lu Feng took the tableware and chopsticks into the kitchen and started to wash the pots. Duoduo's eyes widened, there was a big question mark in his little head, and he asked in a low voice, "Mom, what's wrong with him?" Zhang Xiaoyan didn't know what happened to him. All she could think of was that Lu Feng wanted money, and now the only money in the family was the 900 yuan betrothal gift when he got married. Because the 900 yuan Lu Feng had beaten him more than once, but the money was really spent, and the cost of moving out of the village all the way depended on this money. Zhang Xiaoyan wanted to tell Duoduo that he would be a good father, but when the words came to his lips, he thought again, if Lu Feng didn't get money for this move, he would probably beat himself up again. Instead, why give her this hope? Maybe conscience has found it? Has he gotten better? The tender words were full of expectations. Zhang Xiaoyan didn't speak, she reached out and touched Duoduo's little head, looked at her dotingly, and said, "Would you like to go to the electronics factory with my mother later?" Duoduo frowned and said, "It's so noisy there, and that fat uncle always scolds me." "Be nice." "He scolds you and ignores him." "We are poor and we can't offend others." Zhang Xiaoyan was a little helpless. She had finally won a job in an electronics factory. Every morning in a small restaurant as a waiter washing dishes, it costs 50 yuan a month. The electronics factory is a high-end factory. She works for others. She pays 200 yuan a month and gives her 50 yuan. Don't look at that person who doesn't go to work. He gets 150 yuan a month, and some people are willing to get 30 or 40 yuan a month. It's all because of Zhang Xiaoyan's quickness, quick work, and high school education to get a few more dollars. Lu Feng was washing dishes in the kitchen. With food in his stomach, his brain began to become flexible and he began to wonder how he came to this Lu Feng's body. He has also seen some rebirths, but he was reborn on someone else's body, which is really rare. 10 years of hard work, more than 2 billion assets, it is not so easy to give up, it contains too much hard work, and now Lu Feng just wants to go back. As for Zhang Xiaoyan and his wife, the previous Lu Feng died, and their lives were much easier. Everyone had their own destiny, and Lu Feng was never a soft-hearted person. Looking at the washing water in the pot, Lu Feng thought to himself, if the power is turned on, will he let himself go back? Or another drink? The matter of drinking was immediately rejected by him, and now this family does not have this condition. Many people in the movie are electrocuted. I can put my hand into the water basin and energize the water basin. Even if it is unsuccessful, my whole body twitches after being electrocuted, and I will disconnect myself from the power source, so I won't be electrocuted. Lu Feng nodded secretly, thinking that this is a way, although this way is very funny, but as long as there is a glimmer of hope, he is willing to try it. After leaving the kitchen, Lu Feng saw what the two were murmuring and said, "Is your face hurt okay?" Zhang Xiaoyan was a little overwhelmed by the sudden concern, and replied, "It's okay." "Is there any medicine at home?" "Put some medicine on." "No, forget it, it's okay." Zhang Xiaoyan bit her lip and hesitated for a while before saying, "Lu Feng, the dowry money that your family gave you at the time has really been spent. I didn't lie to you, the money for grocery shopping tonight none, I went to the electronics factory to borrow a few cents from someone." After Zhang Xiaoyan finished speaking, her eyes were tightly closed, her pretty face twisted into a ball, and she was ready to meet his fists and feet like a storm, but she didn't. "Then let's borrow some first, you have to eat, Duoduo is growing up, you still go to work in the afternoon, right?" Lu Feng looked at Duoduo and smiled. He said, "Just stay at home with me." Zhang Xiaoyan's face stretched out, her eyes were full of disbelief. Now she doesn't know what Lu Feng wants to do, as to say that he has really gotten better. She couldn't believe that Zhang Xiaoyan was not disappointed, but desperate, for Lu Feng. She didn't dare to hold out any hope, otherwise she might fall into the 18th hell in the next second. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at Duoduo, and immediately thought of something. She pulled Duoduo into her arms in a panic, and shouted to Lu Feng, "What do you want to do? Are you crazy?" "What?" Lu Feng just wanted to help her take care of the child, and this little guy is really cute. I don't know why she reacted so much. "If you dare to sell Duoduo, I'll call the police. If I die, I'll send you to hell." Zhang Xiaoyan dared to speak to Lu Feng for the first time. Her eyes were full of determination, as if she was telling Lu Feng that she said after doing that. He turned his head and touched Duoduo's little head, and said gently, "Mom will go to change clothes, and I'll go to the factory in a while." Zhang Xiaoyan walked to the shabby cabinet, opened the door, and took out her work jacket from the electronics factory. It was her best piece of clothing, and the rest was bought when she got married. Duoduo blinked at Lu Feng, approached cautiously, and asked, "Are you getting better?" Lu Feng nodded and whispered, "Yes." "Then you won't hit your mother again, will you?" "Yes, definitely not." The little guy had a smile on his face, beckoned, and said, "Come here." Lu Feng bent down and put his ear to his ear, and the little guy whispered in his ear, "Baba, as long as you don't hit your mother, I'll call you Baba." Zhang Xiaoyan put on her coat, saw Duoduo whispering to Lu Feng, and said, "Duoduo, let's go, you will be scolded for being late." After talking, he picked up Duoduo and went out. Lu Feng remained bent over, and was stunned for more than 10 seconds, with an intriguing smile on the corner of his mouth. "Growing up so much, I haven't been called dad yet, and the milky voice is quite nice." Zhang Xiaoyan left every day before dawn, and only came back at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. The house was a little messy. Lu Feng stood up and started to clean up the house, scrubbing all the desks and chairs, but thinking about going back. He lined up all the ways he could think of in his mind. Since he could come, it meant that he could go back. The most fearful thing was that he was considered to have died suddenly from drinking. After the doctor declared his death, he was sent directly to the crematorium. If it's burned to ashes, it's really over. Lu Feng just hoped that the doctor would not give up on himself. In the afternoon, in addition to cleaning up the house, Lu Feng also found 2 wires that could be plugged into the socket and led to the sink. At night, it was already dark outside, and there was not even a single street light. Only the stars on the edge of the sky could be seen, and the dim gas lamps in the room made people feel a little depressed. There was the sound of the key opening the door, and the door opened. Zhang Xiaoyan was a little confused when she looked at the tidy room. She was holding Duoduo in her arms and covered her with a coat, apparently falling asleep. "What did you do?" Zhang Xiaoyan asked, looking at Lu Feng, with a bit of joy in her voice. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 3. Yes, I have nothing to do at home this afternoon, so I cleaned up. Lu Feng's eyes fell on Zhang Xiaoyan's other hand. There were vegetables, soy sauce, and a small piece of pork in the bag. The white water noodles at noon were not nutritious, and Lu Feng was already hungry and dizzy. Zhang Xiaoyan followed Lu Feng's gaze to the bag in her hand and said, "I borrowed 80 cents from Sister Li from the electronics factory to buy some vegetables and meat. You can help me with it, and I'll cook right away." Lu Feng took the bag and said, "Look at the child, I'll cook." After speaking, she plunged into the kitchen. Zhang Xiaoyan put the sleeping Dodo on the bed, looked at the clean and tidy home, and looked at the busy back in the kitchen. The whole person was like a dream. Is this real? Is it because God thinks I am too bitter? Give me some sweetness. Zhang Xiaoyan never expects great wealth and honor. He looks at the busy man in the kitchen, but only expects a few more days, even a few more hours, to be satisfied. Lu Feng had never been so excited when he rang the bell for the first time his company went public. Now, looking at the few taels of meat, he couldn't calm down for a long time. He sighed that the prices are really cheap now. 80 cents to buy such a big pile of things. Food stamps are still used in some small places. Today's white rabbits are worth 3 yuan a cent, and pork is less than 50 cents a pound. Zhang Xiaoyan is very diligent, and her income is enough to keep the family safe. The meat slices made a sizzling sound when the meat was placed in the pot, and the aroma of the meat was mouth-watering. Lu Feng skillfully put the dishes into the pot and stir-fried them. The meat smell wafted out of the house and into the corridor. In another rental house, a fat woman in her 40s sniffed and asked the man beside her, "Whose meat smells like this? Who are you in charge of? Let's eat." There are only a few restaurants in this corridor that can eat meat. It's not a festival, and it's not a big deal. I have to take a look. What if it's Lu Feng's? That Lu Feng gambler, the poor one can't even drink the northwest wind, and still eat meat. What if I win? His wife borrowed $1 or $2 from me 2 months ago and then paid back 60 cents, and there's another 60 cents. Damn, she hides when she sees me. The woman pushed the door open and walked out. Lu Feng put the food on the table, looked at Zhang Xiaoyan and said, "Let's eat, don't disturb too much, just leave some for her." Zhang Xiaoyan nodded and sat across from her, looking at the table full of food. Her eyes were a little wet, and when she wanted to say something, tears fell from her mouth. "What's wrong?" Lu Li picked up a steamed bun and stuffed it into his mouth to eat, and asked, "Why are you crying?" "It's all right, I'm just happy." Zhang Xiaoyan wiped her tears and choked up, "You will find a job in a few days, and there will be a good day. Don't hang out with your gang of friends, okay? I beg you." "Well, no more." Lu Li nodded. As for looking for a job, he didn't agree. After this meal, he had to go back. Lu Feng glanced at Duo Duo, who was fast asleep, and secretly wished the mother and daughter a good future, and bowed their heads to eat. The woman wandered in the corridor for a while, and finally locked Lu Feng's house, reaching out and knocking on the door. "Who is it?" Zhang Xiaoyan asked. "Me." Li Dafang. The voice outside the door was very low, as if with a trace of anger. Zhang Xiaoyan looked a little nervous when she heard the name. No one in the corridor knew that Li Dafang was difficult to deal with. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't live 2 months ago, she would not have borrowed money from Li Dafang. Originally, she would pay her wages back, but as soon as she paid them, Lu Feng took them away to eat and drink with those buddies. She squeezed out 60 cents to pay back half. "What's wrong?" Lu Feng noticed something was wrong with her. "It's all right, I just haven't paid 60 cents. I'll go and tell her that I'll pay her back this month." Zhang Xiaoyan stood up and opened the door. "I packed the tableware and chopsticks into the kitchen." Lu Feng picked up the tableware and chopsticks and went into the kitchen. The kitchen has been connected to half a basin of water, and there are sockets and 2 wires next to it. Lu Feng looked at everything in front of him, took a deep breath, and began to fiddle with it. He was praying silently in his heart that he must succeed. He hoped that when he opened his eyes again, he would become the chairman Lu Feng. Zhang Xiaoyan opened the door and saw Li Dafang's face darkened. She said with a smile, "Sister Li, it's so late, what's the matter? You have a good life, eat meat." Li Dafang leaned on the door frame and said, "You still owe me 60 cents, when will I pay it? I can't eat meat as a borrower, you are thick-skinned, and you are a big fish in borrowing money." Of. With embarrassment on her face, Zhang Xiaoyan said, "Sister Li, my family is having a hard time. Today I borrowed 80 cents from someone to improve the food. If you give me a few more days, I will pay you back the salary." "Stop talking nonsense, How long have you been procrastinating? I gave you face, right? Just now, pay back the money. Li Dafang was unreasonable. Zhang Xiaoyan hurriedly felt in her pocket. There were still 30 cents left in the 80 cents. Why did she say, I will pay you back 30 cents first, and I will definitely pay you back when the salary is paid? Li Dafang snatched the 3 cents away and shouted, how about 3 cents? If you don't pay back the money today, don't blame me for scolding the street. Sister Li, can you give me a few days? Zhang Xiaoyan's voice was full of pleading, her eyes were red. She finally saw hope in her life, and she believed that the future would definitely get better. I beg you. Li Dafang threw off Zhang Xiaoyan's hand and said coldly, don't come here, pay the money, now, or don't blame me for being rude. Sister Li, can you give me a few days, just a few days? I'll kneel down for you. Zhang Xiaoyan burst into tears and fell to her knees on the ground. It was only natural for her to pay her debts, she really had no choice but to plead. In the kitchen, Lu Feng had inserted 2 wires into the sockets, and a spark appeared. He listened to all the conversations at the door, and secretly told himself that everything had nothing to do with him, and he wanted to go back. Don't hum with this, Li Dafang shouted in the corridor, come out and see, Zhang Xiaoyan won't pay back the money. Every household opened their doors one after another to watch the fun, murmuring endlessly. This person is really shameless. He owes money to people and has the cheek to not pay it back. You don't know, there are even more shameless ones. Someone saw her going out to sell. Where did you see it? Don't care where you saw it, it must be true. That man of hers eats, drinks, prostitutes and gambles. Where does the money come from? That's right, that's the point of being pretty. All kinds of humiliating words made Zhang Xiaoyan feel ashamed, stood up and closed the door, ran to the bed, hugged her head and cried. Open the door, what are you hiding as a tortoise? You're right, if you don't pay back the money you owe. Li Dafang's clamor sounded outside the door, followed by a knock on the door. Who on this floor doesn't know you're a watchman? Sell it if you don't have any money. If you don't repay the loan, why are you so thick-skinned? Open the door. Is it useful to look good? Is there a way to find a man to pay back the money? Zhang Xiaoyan hugged her knees and cried bitterly. She didn't dare to go out and quarrel. The other party's repayment would make her speechless. Lu Feng watched the wires in the water basin sizzle and smoke, and his heart was a mess. He kept telling himself, don't be soft-hearted, he has to go back, his 10 years of hard work has only brought success, and it will be gone before he can enjoy it. But Zhang Xiaoyan's weak and helpless cry outside the kitchen made him a little miserable. Taking a deep breath, he still decided to put his hand into the sink. If he went back, everything here would have nothing to do with him. Boom. Watch yourself. Open the door. Pay back the money. The loud slam on the door directly woke Duo from his dream, and after waking up, he burst into tears. Zhang Xiaoyan hurriedly held Duo in her arms. The mother and daughter huddled in the corner of the bed. She kept slapping Duo on the back, telling her that it was all right. Dad. I'm afraid. Dad. A lot of shouting is heartbreaking. Just as Lu Feng's hand was about to touch the water in the basin, he heard a lot of screams, and he pulled it back abruptly, took a deep breath and said to himself, God, you won. If I don't let this mother and son live a good life, my surname is not Lu. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 4. Lu Feng rushed out of the kitchen, looked at the mother and daughter and said, it's okay, I'm here. Lying in Zhang Xiaoyan's arms, Duo turned to look at Lu Feng, his little face was full of tears, he stopped crying, and the cursing and kicking outside the door continued. Zhang Xiaoyan never thought that Lu Feng would stand up. He was indifferent to everything that happened at home before. When Lu Feng walked towards the door, his back was incomparably tall in Zhang Xiaoyan's eyes, like a high wall, which made people feel at ease. Lu Feng opened the door, Li Dafang kicked in the air, and stood in front of Lu Feng. Looking at Lu Feng, his heart still felt a little guilty. After all, Lu Feng's reputation is not very good. Together. So you're at home? You're at home today, and you have to pay back the money. Li Dafang's confidence was not enough. I owe you 60 cents, right? Lu Feng looked at her and said, I have 60 cents, and you gave me the 30 cents just now. When Li Dafang heard the repayment, a look of disdain appeared on his face. He thought to himself that he was just a softie. He took out 3 cents from his pocket and handed it to Lu Feng, saying, 6 cents, bring it here. Lu Feng put the money in his pocket and didn't pay it back. He stared at her and asked, what did you scold just now? What? What were you scolding outside the door just now? Li Dafang hesitated for a while. She felt that Lu Feng didn't dare to treat her like that. So many people looked at her and said, calling her a self-effacing, what's the matter? Lu Feng's face sank, and he raised his hand and slapped him in the face. Snapped. The slap in the face made Li Dafang stagger and almost fell to the ground. Everyone around was shocked, but Lu Feng dared to do it. You dare to hit me, Li Dafang scolded with anger. What's wrong with hitting you? Let me tell you, I will definitely pay you back in a month. This slap is to make you cheap. If you don't agree with us, Lu Feng shouted sharply. Old man, someone hit me, Li Dafang cried while covering his face. Li Dafang's man emerged from the crowd. He was not tall. He only looked at Lu Feng with promise. No one on this floor knew that she was in charge of Li Dafang's family. What? You want to do it with me, Lu Feng said with a gloomy face. Okay, I'll call my brothers tomorrow, let's stretch our arms and have a good time. The man was startled when he heard this, and hurriedly dragged Li Dafang home. Seeing this result, the onlookers scattered away in murmurs. Lu Feng turned his head and went back to the house, looking at Zhang Xiaoyan and saying, it's all right, go to sleep. After turning off the lights, the room fell into darkness. The moonlight outside the window shone through the thin curtains, giving the room a hazy feeling. Lu Feng was lying on the bed with his arms on his back. This was his first night in the 1990s. On the opposite bed, Zhang Xiaoyan padded a lot and was already asleep. Look for a job in a few days, life will get better, Zhang Xiaoyan said softly. Lu Feng didn't want to go to work. In this era, gold is everywhere and opportunities are everywhere. With his talent, it is not too simple to want to rise, but the problem is that he has no starting capital. You don't hang out with your buddies, I beg you, okay? Lu Feng nodded and said, go to sleep. In the past few years of marriage, Zhang Xiaoyan slept extraordinarily soundly tonight. In the dream, Lu Feng changed his mind and went to work every day. The days were very sweet, and the two had another child. It was already 3 days after Lu Feng woke up. Zhang Xiaoyan had already gone to work and took Duo with him. Obviously, in Zhang Xiaoyan's heart, he was still worried about leaving Duo to him. There was a bowl of porridge on the table. Lu Feng was drinking porridge, his heart was a little messy, he didn't know where to start, and suddenly there was a knock on the door. Who? Brother Feng, me, what's the matter with you these days? A loud stinging voice came from outside the door. When he opened the door, he saw a man in his early 20s, his clothes were flowing. Lu Feng remembered him, his name was Zhou Jiangguo, and his family had some money. Why don't you go out? I don't even look for my brothers to play. Zhou Jiangguo came in and asked. There's something going on at home recently. Lu Feng looked at him, thinking silently in his mind that his gang of friends are still useful. Zhou Jiangguo had 3 bungalows in the suburbs, and sometimes he went there for drinks. Sun Longbin's father was the head of a village, and there were 4 or 5 second-rate boys. When these people went out to eat and drink, it was basically Lu Feng who paid for him, just to play him as a fool. "If you don't come to me, I plan to go to you." Lu Feng patted Zhou Jiangguo on the shoulder and said very intimately, "Where are the brothers?" Zhou Jiangguo always felt that something was wrong with Lu Feng, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. He said, "I'm waiting for you, walk around, have a good drink, and lively at night." Zhou Jiangguo sneered when he saw Lu Feng's back, and asked him to come out, just to make him pay the bill. This kind of fool is rare. As for whether he has money or not, people don't care. After eating and drinking, turn your head and walk away, and this is not the first time. In the tavern, there were a lot of people. There were already 5 or 6 people sitting at a table. When everyone saw Lu Feng coming, they were all overjoyed and greeted each other, "Brother Feng is here." Lu Feng sat down and glanced at the crowd. He didn't say much. He started to order food. After drinking 3 dishes and 5 flavors, he was all over the top. Lu Feng lit a cigarette and said to Zhou Jiangguo, "Jiangguo, are you a brother? What you said is out of the question, our 2 iron buddies, what's the matter? The brothers will settle everything for you." Zhou Jiangguo waved his hand very boldly. "With your words, I won't give you this brother for nothing. How many houses in your suburb are empty?" Zhou Jiangguo was stunned for a moment, feeling that something was wrong. Just as he was about to resign, Lu Feng shouted, "Are you a brother?" "It's brother. It's a brother, just lend me those houses for a few days." Lu Feng stretched out his hand and put Zhou Jiangguo in his arms, and said intimately, "We are brothers. What is a brother? Mine is yours, yours is mine of." As everyone at the dinner table watched, Zhou Jiangguo was embarrassed to decline, nodded, and said, "No problem." He thought to himself, it was empty anyway, he would take it back in a few days, but Lu Feng didn't want to pay it back for a while. Seeing the mess on the table, Lu Feng frowned and said, "I'm going to the toilet." After he finished speaking, he ran out, squatted down in the shade of a tree and smoked a cigarette, and when they came out after paying the bill, Lu Feng thought to himself, now that there is a venue, there will be a lack of projects. What Lu Feng has to do is canned food. Nowadays, canned food is a rare thing, especially in rural areas, where canned food is given as gifts. As for the raw materials of canned food, Sun Longbin's father is the village chief, and now is the time when rural fruits are ripe. In the restaurant, Zhou Jiangguo and Sun Longbin waited for Lu Feng not to come back. Having realized something, Zhou Jiangguo stood up, settled the bill, and left the restaurant. Seeing them coming out, Lu Feng pretended to lift his pants and walked over. "Did you fall into the toilet? The first checkout person is gone? It cost a total of 2 yuan, Zhou Jiangguo began to report the bill. "What are you talking about? I have a stomachache. Besides, I used to pay the bills, didn't I?" Lu Feng stared at him and shouted, "Is it a brother? Saying such foreign words, 1 piece and 2 are billed to me. I can see this brother clearly." Zhou Jiangguo's face was flushed and he was speechless. Sun Longbin, who was on the side, hurried to smooth things out. "It's all brothers, it doesn't matter, let's go, the video room." Lu Feng looked at Sun Longbin and thought to himself, what are brothers doing? Brothers are for pits? The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 5. Zhou Jiangguo felt sullen along the way. He never thought that he would be pitted by Lu Feng. Because of his face and not easy to attack, he could only be sullen. At the entrance of the video room, Lu Feng hugged Sun Longbin's shoulder very affectionately. These people were not very scheming and were very simple. Lu Feng, an old fritter, knew too much about what they liked to hear. In less than 20 minutes, the relationship with Sun Longbin rose rapidly. Taking advantage of the wine, Sun Longbin patted his chest and said, "Brother Feng, it's worth paying you a brother. If you need a brother, just speak up." "Benzi, is your father the village chief?" "Yes." "Do you have any fruit trees in your village?" Lu Feng looked at him and asked. "Yes, there are a lot of fruit trees in our village, and there are pieces on the top of the hill." Sun Longbin stared at Lu Feng and said, "Brother Feng, what do you mean?" "I want to get some fruit recently." "What a big deal, tell your brother what you want to eat and get you half a sack." Sun Longbin was extraordinarily forthright. "I want a lot, I'll buy it." "You can go back and ask your father to prepare some for me." "Any fruit will do." Lu Feng didn't say much, and stepped into the video room. Video halls and arcades are definitely the most fashionable things, and it is also the first time that a Hong Kong film has hit the mainland market. Together with the ice rink, it is definitely a holy place for couples to date, and it is also a place for young gangsters to gather. In a few years, DVDs and VCDs will replace video halls, game halls, and internet cafes will begin to gain the favor of young people. After that, mobile phones and the internet will explode. Lu Feng once did a business game in the 1980s and 1990s. Every time a new technology appears, a lot of new rich people will be launched. Behind all this is not only the iteration of technology, but also the iteration of talents. Lu Feng also wants to directly start the high-tech industry such as DVD players and Walkmans that will explode in a few years. It's a pity that he is as poor as a ghost, and now he has only one goal, to start this small canning workshop first. Lu Feng's mind is not on the movie. Not to mention those few charming girls in the dark. There is not much money in the countryside now. People exchange grain for food, and then sell the grain to the local grain station. Even if Lu Feng is a free venue, he lends fruit on credit, makes canned food, and converts it into grain from the countryside. Realized, the capital chain will be broken. Of course, Lu Feng, who has been in business for many years, knows how deadly it is that the capital return cycle is too long. He had to get the head of the local grain station and turn the grain into cash as quickly as possible. Lu Feng had no interest in watching a movie, so he turned his head and glanced at the big head beside him. He was the most simple and honest among these people. "Brother Feng, why are you watching me?" "Watching a movie." Datu was a little puzzled. "Dtou, come, go out with me." Lu Feng patted Dtou's shoulder and stood up and walked out. As soon as they reached the door, the little girl who bought the tickets stopped the two of them and said, "You two pay 5 cents each. Pay the bills with the brothers who came with us." Lu Feng pointed at Zhou Jiangguo, who was sitting in the front row. He was chatting with the two little girls enthusiastically. "He settles the bill." After exiting the video room, Datu asked, "What's wrong with Brother Feng?" "We'll have to spend money to go in again." "I know, you take me to the grain bureau," Lu Feng said and walked towards his 28 car. "What are you going to do at the grain bureau?" Datu was a little unhappy when he was interrupted to watch the movie, and muttered, "You ask Brother Joe or Brother Ben to take you there. They are motorcycles, so I have to ride." "Stop talking nonsense, hurry up." Lu Feng sat back and fell to the ground, and the back seat also fell. "My back seat is broken, you sit on the beam." Lu Feng was sitting on the beam with his big head riding the bike. The posture of the two of them was a bit ambiguous. When Lu Feng turned his head, he could see his big head, and hurriedly turned his head not to look. The reason why Lu Feng is called Datu is because this person is simple and honest and doesn't think too much. If Zhou Jiangguo and Sun Longbin send him, they are afraid they will figure out something. Halfway through, Lu Feng suddenly said, "Go back to my house first." Datu was very dissatisfied, but he still rode towards Lu Feng's house. When he got home, the first thing Lu Feng did was to find out his wedding suit. Putting on leather shoes, finding a bag to put in the creaking nest, and tossing his hair again, looking at himself in the mirror, Lu Feng took a deep breath and said to himself, "People who don't have money, Go out and do errands by cheating. Just after going out, before taking a few steps, a pretty woman's voice sounded behind him. Lu Feng? What are you doing here? Lu Feng turned his head and saw a woman wearing a floral dress, about 1 meter 65 in height, 26'7", with average appearance, but there was an indescribable anger on her body. The woman's name is He Yanli, who also lives on this floor. She is a widow. Although the widow has a lot of right and wrong in front of her door, she has a lot of right and wrong. I'm doing something, sister. He didn't go to the factory, Lu Feng asked politely. Sister He, what's your name? You were so handsome last night. Looking at your outfit, it looks like you're going to do a big business. He Yanli smiled like a nightmare. Lu Feng said a few polite words, and didn't want to entangle with her. Some man on this floor was talking to her, and the couple decided to fight. Going downstairs, Datu was dumbfounded when he saw Lu Feng's style, and said, Brother Feng, what are you doing? From now on, don't call me Brother Feng, call me young master, you know. Ah. Why? Where are there so many why, call? The big head was a little confused, but he still screamed, and Lu Feng sat on the beam and flew towards the grain bureau. At the entrance of the grain bureau, Lu Feng tidied up his clothes, confirmed it with Datu again, and walked in. As soon as he entered, he saw two people playing table tennis there. Who asked you to play table tennis during working hours? Lu Feng's face sank. He took the creaking bag in his hand, pointed at the two and shouted, call your leaders, what's it like? This scolding not only startled everyone present, but his big head was almost scared to pee. He stared at Lu Feng with wide eyes. Is he crazy? Others saw that Lu Feng was full of style and did not dare to say anything. They hurriedly sat upright, and the two playing ball lowered their heads and dared not speak. Lu Feng asked, is your station master here? On the second floor. Lu Feng walked to the second floor with his bag in his hand, walked over to the two playing ball, gave him a cold look, and said, be careful. Going up to the second floor, standing in front of the office door, Lu Feng glanced at Datu, who hurriedly followed what he had said before, pushed open the door and said, Master, please. The station master Wang in the office raised his head to see Lu Feng stunned for a moment, then stood up and said, who are you two? Without saying a word, Lu Feng sat on the sofa with Erlang's legs crossed, looked at the station master Wang and said slowly, what's your surname? My surname is Wang. What are you doing? It's okay, I'm just here to talk to you about something, don't be nervous, just sit. Lu Feng pointed to the sofa next to him, as if the office belonged to him. The big head stood aside, one head and too big. Seeing that Lu Feng was in a panic, he secretly complained in his heart, what is he doing? Recently, I'm going to build a factory. There may be a batch of grain that I want to sell to the grain station. If Station Master Wang can be happy, everything will be easy. I'll mention you a few more words to my old man. Station Master Wang couldn't figure out where the two of them came from for a while, but looking at Lu Feng's aura, he didn't look like an ordinary person, and asked, who is your old man? My old man has just been transferred here, don't ask so detailed, it won't do you any good. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 6. The station master Wang was startled, he had already smelled something, he quickly put on a smiling face, looked at Lu Feng and said, Master Lu, right. Don't be so polite, just call me young Master Lu. Lu Feng leaned on the sofa and said, this grain station, what kind of grain do we receive now? Corn, mung bean, wheat, etc., all of them are accepted, Station Master Wang looked at Lu Feng, and he couldn't tell the truth for a while, and said, I don't know what price Lu Xiao wants to sell. According to the market conditions, I am serious about running a factory, understand? What kind of person do you think my old man is? Lu Feng frowned, very displeased. Wang Zhanchang breathed a sigh of relief, nodded and said, yes, yes, Lu Xiao is right. Lu Feng knew that, despite the smiling face of Webmaster Wang now, he must be suspicious. Maybe he would secretly send someone to check him after he left. He remembered that in this era, the Grain Bureau was overhauled, mainly to abolish food stamps. The Bureau's personnel have undergone a major transfer. Lu Feng cleared his throat and said, Master Wang, see you today, you are a good person. I will go back and tell my old man that your position may have changed recently. What? Wang's station master reacted, and the whole person was overjoyed, and hurriedly bowed, thank you Lu Xiao for your support. If you have anything in the future, just tell me. Lu Feng stood up and was about to leave, but Station Master Wang said, I'll see you off. No, I have a driver, so don't send me down, there are so many people, understand? The Station Master Wang understood, and said a few things in his mouth. He hurriedly took out a few bills from his pocket, quietly stuffed them into Lu Feng's hands, and said little things in his mouth. After leaving the Food Bureau, Data was so scared that his back was soaked. He looked at Lu Feng and said, Brother Feng, where did we get the car? Not to mention the driver. Aren't you the driver? Me, Dataway, I only have a broken 28 car. Isn't 28 a car? Lu Feng turned his head and glanced at the Grain Bureau, pulled his head aside and said in a low voice, leave this place first, and go to Zhou Jiangguo's house in the suburbs to have a look. Data rode his bike and was very puzzled along the way. The Lu Feng in the Food Bureau was definitely not the Brother Feng he knew. He carefully looked at the person in front of him and asked, Brother Feng, why does the Station Master Wang treat you so badly? You're welcome. Do you have an identity that I don't know about? Seeing that he was still thinking about this, Lu Feng was a little speechless. With his IQ, he explained clearly that it was estimated that it was 2020, and said, you have discovered this, well, I have a showdown. Actually, my family is very awesome. I originally wanted to get along with you in a low-key manner, but what I didn't expect was alienation. Data was shocked when he heard this. It was just a joke from Lu Feng, but he was convinced that the momentum he showed in the Food Bureau was definitely not something that an ordinary person could possess. When they arrived in the suburbs, several bungalows were locked. Lu Feng found a brick and smashed the lock. Lu Feng looked around, made a simple plan in his mind, and took out the money that the Station Master Wang had put in from his pocket, a full 10 yuan, which was really generous. Big head, find a canteen to buy some locks and bring them back. Data really didn't understand what Lu Feng was going to do. He was confused for a long time and asked, Brother Feng, what are you doing? I want to start from this small bungalow and build a huge business empire. Lu Feng's voice was extraordinarily bold. Now, he is standing on the wind of history, and pigs can fly, not to mention his elite. Data has a simple mind and developed limbs, so he can't understand that much. He just feels that Lu Feng has changed, and he has an indescribable charm that makes him obey. When Zhou Jiangguo and his party came out of the video room, their faces were ugly. He paid the money for the video room again. They wanted to piss off Lu Feng, but they ended up entertaining themselves all day. Brother Feng is not righteous, Bio Z complained. As soon as you pay the bill, you leave. This kind of brother, forget it. The most important thing is that I even took the big head away, damn it, Zhou Jiangguo scolded. He was supposed to play two fools, but he was fooled by two fools today. Where did you say the two of them went? Sun Longbin muttered. For some reason, he always felt that Lu Feng seemed to be a different person. When he saw him today, there was cunning hidden in those eyes. Zhou Jiangguo slapped his thigh and shouted, "Go to my suburban house and see, hurry up." Everyone rode away on motorcycles. The sun was setting in the west, and the wind was blowing in the evening, and the person blowing it was particularly comfortable. Lu Feng walked home against the setting sun with the key in his hand. When he passed the supply and marketing cooperative, he walked in, bought some toys for Duo, and bought some food by the way. When Zhou Jiangguo and everyone arrived, Datu had just put on a new lock, and Zhou Jiangguo shouted, "Datu, what the hell are you doing? Change the lock. This is my humming house, why did you change the lock?" Zhou Jiangguo scolded and got off the motorcycle. "Didn't you borrow Brother Feng? He asked me to change the lock." Zhou Jiangguo took a look and asked, "Where's the key? Open it for me." Brother Feng took the key, "So let me lock the door," Datu said a little bluntly. "You said it at the dinner table and lend it to Brother Feng, why doesn't it count?" "I don't count anymore, what's the matter?" Zhou Jiangguo sneered disdainfully. He didn't say anything at the wine table because of his face, and now he plans to tear his face. Brother Feng will be angry, and the consequences will be serious. As soon as Datu finished saying this, everyone laughed. To put it bluntly, he was just spending his money to eat, drink, and have fun to call him Brother Feng. In the eyes of these people, Lu Feng was not even a hair. "Hey, you scared me to death, is your Brother Feng trying to kill me? Open the lock for Lao Tzu." Looking at them like this, he said anxiously, "You guys don't know Brother Feng, I just found out today, people walk sideways when they enter the grain bureau." Datu told what happened today. Zhou Jiangguo and Sun Longbin's faces stiffened. If someone told them these things, they would never believe them. But if the head is big, they believe it, because the big head is stupid and won't lie. Zhou Jiangguo and Sun Longbin looked at each other, and they were deeply shocked. Thinking back on the first day they met Lu Feng, he hadn't been to work, and when he went out to spend, he basically settled the bill. Moreover, he shot in a dashing manner, both of them felt a pain in the flesh. Now everything is explained, people are not ordinary people, so many people want to flatter them, and the two almost offended them for $1 or $2. Zhou Jiangguo suddenly laughed, patted his big head on the shoulder and said, "I'm joking with you, Brother Feng is my eldest brother in my heart. How long do you want to use these rooms for? As long as you want." Lu Feng himself would never have imagined that Lu Feng's debauchery had unexpectedly helped him so much. Lu Feng was carrying the things he bought, big bags and small bags. He happened to meet He Yanli downstairs. She looked at the things in Lu Feng's hands. They were not cheap when combined, and most people would not dare to buy them like this. "Yo, Lu Feng, are you getting rich?" He Yanli joked, "Don't forget your sister when you get rich." The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 7. Lu Feng exchanged a few words with her and went upstairs. For people like He Yanli, Lu Feng did not want to have more contact with them. This kind of woman is a petty and cheap thing. As long as he sees someone who benefits, he will immediately post it. There are 5 floors in the unit building, and there are dozens of families on each floor. The whole floor knows who farts at home. The matter of Lu Feng hitting Li Dafang last night is still fermenting. Li Dafang's domineering in the unit building is notorious, and he is not less provocative on weekdays, and many people secretly applaud. In the room, Li Dafang was sulking with a cold face, and she didn't go out for a day. Has that kid Lu Feng made a fortune? He bought a lot of things with a big bag and a small bag. He was wearing a suit, and he put a bag in his creek. He was very stylish, Li Dafang's man muttered. He can't even afford to eat, and he's still pretending? I'm not finished with him. Li Dafang's face turned blue, and he said solemnly, I'll go to my cousin, so that he can't eat and walk around. Lu Feng opened the door and found that Zhang Xiaoyan had come back. Sitting there, he was a little dazed, and Duo played on the side. When he saw Lu Feng came back with something, he rushed over and hugged Lu Feng's calf. "Guess what I bought you?" Lu Feng crouched down and said. The little guy's big eyes were full of excitement, his eyes were searching in several bags. Lu Feng took out a small doll and handed it to her. Duo grabbed the doll and kissed Lu Feng's cheek fiercely. He excitedly said, "Thank you, Baba." Lu Feng reached out and touched the saliva on his face. He had an indescribable feeling in his heart. He stood up and looked at Zhang Xiaoyan, only to find that she was looking sad again. "What's wrong?" Lu Feng put the things on the table and said, "I didn't hit you again, why are you looking like that? Where did you get the money to buy so many things?" Zhang Xiaoyan raised her head and asked. I. Lu Feng didn't know how to tell her. "You're hanging out with your buddies again, right?" Zhang Xiaoyan's eyes instantly became dull, as if they had lost all color and were full of disappointment. "No. Then what did you do today? I asked you to find a job. What did you find? I told the director of the factory today that I found you an unloading job. When I came back, I found that you were gone." Zhang Xiaoyan spoke with tears streaming down her face. In order to find a job for Lu Feng, she was courteous before and after. If it weren't for the fact that the director was a woman, the rumors in the factory would have been overwhelming. After finally agreeing, she ran back to find Lu Feng, but he was gone. Looking at her, Lu Feng was really speechless. He said that women are made of water. Now he believes it. He stepped forward and wiped away his tears. He said, "I was wrong." Huh. Zhang Xiaoyan never thought that Lu Feng coaxed himself and asked subconsciously, "What's wrong?" After she finished speaking, she felt that she had been spoiled by him for the past 2 days and had a temper. She burst out laughing, sniffled, and asked, "Why are you not with your brothers?" "I went looking for a job, I picked up $10 on the way, and I got a job." "Really? What kind of work?" It's a small processing factory, it does everything, and it costs dozens of dollars a month." Lu Feng fooled. He knew that if Zhang Xiaoyan knew that he and Zhou Jianguo were mixed together, he would definitely think that he had become what he used to be. Cheat first. Zhang Xiaoyan's face was full of happiness. Looking at the pile of vegetables and meat, she stood up and sorted it out. She reached out to Lu Feng and hooked her finger. "What?" Lu Feng was puzzled. "Money, have you spent all $10? Lu Feng laughed dumbly, and had no choice but to put the remaining $7 in her pocket in her hand. It took so much, Zhang Xiaoyan was very distressed, counted the money and said, "I'll pay back Li Dafang's money first. You were impulsive last night, so what are you doing? You don't know who Li Dafang's cousin is. Come and apologize with me. If you don't go, don't pay her money back first, you can cook," Lu Feng said solemnly. Zhang Xiaoyan felt that he was a big man's self-esteem at work, and he didn't break it, so he went to cook first. The smell of food came from the kitchen, and he was playing with dolls a lot. The house was full of indescribable warmth, but Lu Feng was thinking about the canning workshop. The grain station is done, and the fruit is no problem. Next, a semi-automatic sealing machine is needed, and the canning bottle is also the cost. The most important thing is the season of the fruit. As long as the fruit is past the ripening season, Lu Feng will have no supply, and the workshop will have to shut down. He only has a few months to make these. White wolf with empty gloves, it's difficult. Where can I deceive a semi-automatic encapsulation machine? It's not easy to deceive a glass factory, but the workers are easy to say. If the salary is higher, and the salary is paid next month, it can be deceived for a month. Lu Feng patted his head with his hand and felt that his head was bigger than the big one. In this situation, he is definitely starting from scratch, not only with white hands, but also with thick skin. When the food was served, Zhang Xiaoyan took off her apron and said to Duo, it's time to eat, and I'll play with the dolls later. The family of 3 was eating, and Duo suddenly raised his head and asked, Mom, why don't you sleep with Dad? Ah, Zhang Xiaoyan couldn't react. You child, where did you hear these things? Zhang Xiaoyan's face turned a little red. Han Xiaoqiang told me that his mother sleeps with his father, and it's still a quilt. Zhang Xiaoyan blushed like a monkey's butt, slapped her hands twice, and said shyly, what is the kid talking about? Don't talk nonsense to that Han Xiaoqiang, he is a boy, you are a girl, you know. But he said that many parents didn't sleep together and ended up getting divorced. I also want them to sleep together. Duo's big eyes were full of longing. It can be seen how much she cherishes the family these 2 days. What does a little kid know? Eat, Zhang Xiaoyan covered the topic. Lu Feng smiled and said, then if you go to bed early tonight, maybe it will come true. Her child, you are talking nonsense too. Zhang Xiaoyan glared at Lu Feng, her face was indescribably shy, and the little woman's posture was full of beauty, especially charming. Lu Feng has seen a lot of beautiful women, all kinds of stunning ones, but like Zhang Xiaoyan, who doesn't wear makeup, but has a special charming woman, he has never seen it before, and he looked a little dazed for a while. Why are you staring at me? Zhang Xiaoyan rolled his eyes at him, not daring to look any further, and lowered her head to eat. It was late at night, Duo fell asleep holding her doll. Lu Feng was a little confused when he lay on his single bed. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at the man on the opposite bed by the moonlight outside the window, and his heart was even more disturbed. The two have been married for 4 years, but they have not been in the same room. I am afraid no one will believe it. Lu Feng turned sideways and whispered toward Zhang Xiaoyan, Duo asleep. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at Duo sleeping in her arms, her heartbeat quickened, and a blush appeared on her pretty face in the dark. The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 8. Zhang Xiaoyan's heart was very confused. Looking at Lu Feng on the opposite side, the past 2 days were really like a dream. She had the most smiles for 2 days since she got married. Otherwise, give it to him. They have been married for 4 years, and it makes people laugh when they say it. Well, I fell asleep. Zhang Xiaoyan slowly lifted the quilt and prepared to climb onto Lu Feng's bed. You should go to bed earlier too, you have to get up early for work tomorrow. Lu Feng turned over and went to sleep as he spoke. Zhang Xiaoyan's movements froze in mid-air, and she lay down again, feeling a little aggrieved, thinking secretly, isn't she as beautiful as she used to be? Or has he seen Huahua world outside in the past 2 years, and doesn't look down on himself? The next morning, Station Master Wang was notified of a meeting. The Grain Bureau was reformed. Station Master Wang still managed the grain station, but it was raised a little. This made him extremely happy and put everything down on Lu Feng. Lu Feng woke up at 9 o'clock in the morning. There was a bowl of porridge and a steamed bun on the table. Sitting at the table eating, he sighed and muttered, semi-automatic packaging line, glass bottle manufacturing factory, where are you going to cheat? Faced with such a predicament, even the most shrewd liar can only do nothing. Lu Feng doesn't even have the money to pack himself, only a suit and a broken bag for marriage, and the rest depends entirely on his acting skills. There was a knock on the door, and Lu Feng said weakly, who is it? Brother Feng, are you awake? It's me, Jiangguo, open the door. There were not only Zhou Jiangguo outside the door, but also Sun Longbin, Biozi, and Datu. They squatted at the door at 7 in the morning, met Zhang Xiaoyan in the face, and quarreled. Lu Feng opened it, and Zhou Jiangguo's face was full of smiles, full of flattering smiles, hunched over like an eunuch, and said, Brother Feng, I'm here to apologize to you, brother drank yesterday. More, don't take offense. Yes, yes, brother Feng, don't take it to heart, you will always be my best brother, just like a real brother. Sun Longbin also hurriedly spoke. Everyone was chatting like a different person. You, who opened your mouth and shut your mouth, respected you. Lu Feng was a little confused about the situation and wondered, what's wrong with you? Data said bluntly, brother Feng, I told them about our trip to the grain bureau yesterday, and they took me here this morning. Lu Feng was stunned for a moment, thinking frantically about the relationship. After 7 or 8 seconds, he figured it out, laughed, and said, brother Joe, do you believe what the big head says? It's nothing, you don't listen to his nonsense. If Lu Feng admitted it generously, Zhou Jiangguo would really have to consider whether it was true or false, but now he keeps denying it because he is afraid of taking advantage of it. Whether it's true or false, you are my brother. Yesterday, my brother did something wrong, so I will compensate you. Data said, brother Feng, your wife had a fight with us this morning, let us stay away from you. Lu Feng sighed, sat on the stool, and said, brothers, my wife does have an opinion on you, and the opinions have been quarreled several times. You should not come to my house to find me. It's a brother, it's wrong. I, Zhou Jiangguo, don't know Mount Tai. I was scolded quietly in the morning without any quarrel. Brother Feng, you brother, I've settled. If there is any problem, I'll settle it all for you. Zhou Jiangguo the chest snapped. Lu Feng knew that Zhou Jiangguo was a household of 10,000 yuan, and he was already considered a rich man. He must have had a lot of connections. After pondering for a while, he said, there is indeed something happening recently. I eat, drink and have fun every day, which makes my old man unhappy. I have to make a move, let him see it. I am going to build a cannery, and now I lack a semi-automatic sealing machine. Zhou Jiangguo and Sun Longbin looked at each other. They were thinking about this kind of machine in their minds. Zhou Jiangguo suddenly slapped his thigh and said, I know there is an old one. Lu Feng got excited, and hurriedly told himself to calm down, he is now the son of a big man, and nodded, I'll change my clothes and go have a look. Lu Feng changed his clothes and went out. He met Li Dafang as soon as he went out and looked at each other. No one answered. Li Dafang looked at Lu Feng's back, and snorted coldly, the whole thing is mixed with these idle ruffians, just wait, it's good for you. I didn't take the big car today. Everyone was on motorcycles. When they arrived at a large yard in the suburbs, Zhou Jiangguo entered the yard and shouted, is Uncle Lu here? A man in his 40s walked out of the house, looked at the group of people, and walked up to chat with Zhou Jiangguo. Sun Longbin glanced at Lu Feng quietly. This morning, Zhou Jiangguo showed himself. He didn't even say a word. He leaned up quietly and said, brother Feng, did you get fruit when you opened the cannery? Yeah, didn't I tell you that day? Don't worry, I'll tell my dad when I go back, and let him keep the fruits in the village for you. As long as you need them, the fruits in the whole village are all yours. Sun Longbin flattered. Lu Feng nodded and said nothing. Zhou Jiangguo came over and introduced, this is my brother, he is interested in your semi-automatic packaging machine. Uncle Lu said politely, let's go, let's take a look at the machine, it's been put away for several years. Everyone went to a large utility room, and a semi-automatic packaging machine more than 4 meters long was covered with dust, but it was still obvious that it was very good. This packaging machine can automatically fill and seal, and can fill more than 200 bottles of cans per hour, and the speed is no problem. Everyone cleaned out the machine and tried it out. There was no problem at all. Uncle Lu clapped his hands and said, how is it, brother? If you really want it, it's 5,000 yuan. It's useless to let me go. 5,000? 500,000 households. Lu Feng nodded calmly, took out a pack of Beidling cigarettes from his pocket, scattered them for the crowd, lit one and said, "Come on, pull me the machine, I'll use it first, wait for me if you have enough money, I will give you 6,000 yuan. For me, it doesn't matter if you have more than 1,200 yuan, it's all small money. 1,000 2,000 is small money." Uncle Lou was amused by this, and the $1 million household didn't dare to brag about it. It was ridiculous to come here to play the game of empty gloves and White Wolf, and said, "It's impossible, this is an imported machine, and I want to buy a new one." "You can't buy anything, you have to use foreign exchange, understand?" Zhou Jiangguo frowned when he saw Lu Feng. He hurriedly pulled Uncle Lu aside and whispered, "Uncle Lu, as I said, just lend him a loan. 1 or 2,000 is really not a big deal for others." "Are you kidding me? You're so rich, why are you running here to make a fuss? He is in trouble now. I told you so, the machine is placed in my suburban house, you can go and watch it. The most important thing is, don't you notice that this guy's temperament is very different?" Uncle Lu turned his head and took a serious look at Lu Feng. His suit was neat, and he was arrogant. His temperament revealed that he was not an ordinary person at first glance. "What do you mean? Is there someone up there?" "It's not someone above, it's that person above is his father, the food bureau has to give face, understand?" Zhou Jiangguo winked. Uncle Lu understood immediately, patted Zhou Jiangguo's shoulder with his hand and whispered, "Okay, this kind of person has climbed up, your kid has a bright future?" The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 9. The house belonged to Zhou Jiangguo, and the machine was placed there. Uncle Lu was also relieved. Just to use it for Lu Feng, it would be a good deal. Uncle Lu turned his head and said politely to Lu Feng, "Since he is Jiangguo's good friend, I will give this face to my friends." Lu Feng was very excited, the matter of the machine was settled like this, but his face remained calm. He nodded and said, "Then thank you Uncle Lu, if there is any use in the future, remember to speak, today this machine can pull over." Zhou Jiangguo helped so much and wrote down such a big favor. Sun Longbin didn't get anything. Fearing that he would be marginalized, he hurriedly said, "Brother Feng, I'll find a car and hire a few people to pull it for you." Lu Feng patted Sun Longbin on the shoulder and praised him as a good brother, making Sun Longbin's face smile. "Everyone, stop standing in the yard, go into the house for a drink, and walk around," Uncle Lu said politely. Everyone entered the room. Uncle Lu was old and had experienced a lot of things. Although it was just chatting, he was obsessed with inquiring about Lu Feng's details. If it were an ordinary person, he would definitely be deceived by his words. Lu Feng avoided it. "At noon, I had a meal at Uncle Liu's house and drank some wine at the dinner table." Uncle Lu thought that he could easily face such a hairy boy as Lu Feng. Unexpectedly, he still didn't know anything, and only occasionally revealed a little wind, which made him gain nothing. That's why he felt that Lu Feng was not an ordinary person, but a person who had seen the world. Whether it is confronted with clichés or subtly pressing questions, he can deal with it like a fluent, especially after drinking, he can still think carefully, and he is definitely not a child of ordinary people. After sending Lu Feng and the others out of the house, Uncle Lu watched them leave, and said to himself, "It stands to reason that he shouldn't be a liar, right?" The problem with the machine was solved perfectly. Standing in the rental house in the suburbs, Lu Feng looked at the big guy in front of Henjai, his heart was full, and he thought to himself, set a small goal for himself, become $1 million household first. Lu Feng turned his head to look at Sun Longbin and said, "Brother Ben, when you go back tonight, just tell your dad, Prepare me a few cars for fruits like pears, apricots, and peaches, the prices are higher than the market price. Gee Lee, I'll open this week, and I'll check out immediately. Brother, I'm not out of money, but I really want to do something, show it to my old man, and then I'll invite my brothers to eat, drink, and have fun every day. Brother Feng, you can just call me Binzi. It's too outlandish. They're all brothers. If you say these outlandish words, no problem, just charge at the market price. When you want it, I'll ask my dad to deliver it in person. Sun Longbin. His words were full of sincerity. Brother Feng, please don't see the outside world. Yes, they are all brothers, their own family. Lu Feng looked at everyone with a grateful face, clasped his fists with both hands, and said solemnly, knowing you brothers is really the greatest reward in my life. Brothers, I promise you, my old man will take root here, and I will definitely let you all. Soaring. This is what everyone is waiting for, and they are all excited. In the evening, Lu Feng planned the rental house almost, and he could cook canned food with a few more stoves. Now there is only a matter of canning bottles. Is Lu Xiao here? A voice came from the door. Everyone turned around and saw the station master Wang standing at the door. Lu Feng wondered, Director Wang? Why are you here? I'm here to thank you. Yesterday you said that the factory was located in the suburbs, and I found it all the way. The station master Wang held his briefcase and whispered, Young Master Lu, come over here. Lu Feng stepped forward and asked, What's the matter? You can accept this trivial idea. If you need anything in the future, you can tell me, Station Master Wang said, and stuffed a few tickets into Lu Feng's pocket. Not far away, Zhou Jiangguo and Sun Longbin watched with wide-eyed eyes. Although they heard Data say it, seeing is believing. Even a person like Webmaster Wang would have to curry favor with others. What kind of money do you have? Lu Feng wondered in his heart. Frowned. Buy some nutritional supplements for your old man. Today's meeting, I've been promoted a little, still manages the grain station. I'll wait outside the door, so I won't disturb you. Webmaster Wang went out very wisely. Lu Feng didn't look at how much money, he coughed, and everyone hurriedly pretended that nothing happened. Let's do it today, everyone, go back first, thank you brothers, big head, lock the door. Brother Feng, I'll take you back, Zhou Jiangguo said. No need, I'll deliver it. The station master Wang, who was waiting outside the door, pointed to Santana not far away. He came here today to flatter Lu Feng. How could he give Zhou Jiangguo such an opportunity? It was extraordinarily hot today, even though the sun had set, the air was still filled with heat, and a group of people downstairs were enjoying the cool air, whispering about the recent events in the building. A Beverly car stopped downstairs, and a man in his 30s walked down, wearing sunglasses and a cigarette in his mouth, giving a sense of fashion. Anyone who can afford a car now is definitely a rich person, or a car assigned by the company. Everyone is looking at the car and chatting non-stop. Whose family is this? Drive a car? I don't know, I haven't seen it before. The fourth floor, from Li Dafang's house, don't you know? Li Dafang still has this relative. Li Dafang's cousin, he has a great relationship. Otherwise, do you think he can be so arrogant? He has capital. He fought with Mr. Li a few years ago, and Mr. Li was hurried away that day. This time, Lu Feng is finished. I really thought I knew a few bastards, so I walk sideways. Nowadays, not everyone can afford TV sets, and there are very few entertainment items. Watching the fun is the most important entertainment activity. After a while, more than 20 people gathered, chatting non-stop. He stood in the crowd. Inside, looking at this car, my heart is full of envy. Li Dafang walked down, his face full of arrogance, leaned on the car, and shouted, Just wait here, I let him walk around without food today, dare to slap me, Do you really think there is no one in the Li family? He Yanli took a step forward, looked at the car, looked at Li Dafang's cousin, and said, "How much is this car?" Li Dafang gave her a mean look, and said bitterly, "Go to the side of death, don't talk to the widow, it's bad luck." He Yanli's angry face turned purple, she hummed for a long time, and returned to the crowd. Now everyone is waiting for Lu Feng to come back and watch the show. When Li Dafang said something, she wanted to pay back Lu Feng's slap tenfold. Lu Feng sat in the car, pointed to the road ahead, and said, "Just turn in, Station Master Wang, you can stop here, there is no need to take it downstairs." "How can it be possible? If Lu Xiao is willing, I will be your full-time driver in the future." The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 10. When the car drove downstairs, Lu Feng looked at a lot of people, and there was a car parked there. He was also wondering, why is it so lively today? On weekdays, it is a rare thing to get a car downstairs. Today, there are actually 2 cars, and Lu Feng is still sitting in the co-pilot position. For a time, everyone couldn't figure out what was going on. When Li Dafang saw that Lu Feng actually came back in a car, he was slightly taken aback, and said, "Where did you get a car from?" "Sister, don't worry, it's all right," Li Yi is full of confidence. "It's still a piece of cake to settle a second bastard. His network is very strong. He mainly acts as a broker for some businessmen. Give him a face." Lu Feng got out of the car, looked at so many people, and asked, "What's the matter?" "Lu Feng, let's go, don't come back recently." "That's right, let's go. You got into trouble." A few aunts who had a good relationship with Zhang Xiaoyan on weekdays reminded in a low voice, but more people were watching the fun. Li Yi stepped forward, looked at Lu Feng and asked, "Your name is Lu Feng, right?" Lu Feng looked at him, nodded and said, "Yeah, what's wrong? What's the matter?" "You humming thought that slapping me would be the end of the matter." Li Dafang rushed over, his whole person was vicious, he rushed directly in front of Lu Feng and shouted, "I tell you, you've got yourself into trouble." Li Yi lit a cigarette and said, "Brother, what do you think about this? I'll give you a few options now. First, let my sister slap you 10 times. Second, go in and squat. I have this ability. Thirdly, do it according to the Tao, I will abolish you." Li Yi's voice was not loud, even a little low, but his words were extraordinarily arrogant, which made the people around them feel a little scared. This time, Lu Feng was really finished. "Lu Feng, aren't you pretty good on weekdays? Didn't you say you're a jerk? That's right, why don't you even dare to fart now? Call your brothers here. I'm afraid that he is some wine and meat brothers and can't be called. Ha 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 ha." The voices of ridicule were incessant, as if the usual dissatisfaction with Lu Feng was now revealed under Li Yi's power. "And her cousin wife," Li Dafang shouted arrogantly. Lu Feng's face became gloomy, and he looked at Li Yi and said, "So powerful? Li Dafang, what did you just say?" "What? What's the matter with your cousin wife?" Li Dafang held his head high, very arrogant. Now Lu Feng dares to touch her. With Li Yi here, he would not dare to borrow a few courage from him. His face was full of contempt. Seeing her like this, Lu Feng frowned, raised his hand suddenly, slapped her in the face, and cursed in foul language. Snapped. This slap shocked everyone, including Li Yi. Li Dafang only felt a burning pain on his face, and his head was buzzing. Li Yi reacted with a grim expression, dare to hit his sister in front of him. Does the other party want to live? Li Yi drank a word, and was about to start, shouting, "I have destroyed you today, let me tell you, you will be wasted if you are abolished." The people around hurriedly stepped back, for fear of getting into trouble. Many people secretly shouted in their hearts, "It's over, Lu Feng is completely over today. If he dares to provoke Li Yi, he will not end well. Kill him to death for me," Li Dafang shouted, covering his face with his hands. The station master Wang has been sitting in the car. He thought it was a matter of neighbors, but now he wants to do something. He didn't dare to hurt Lu Xiao, so he hurriedly got out of the car and shouted, "Stop it!" Li Yi stopped, not because the station master Wang was loud, but because he could drive a Santana, he might not be able to offend him. If it was his own car, he would definitely be number one in the business world. "Get up. You try to move him," station master Wang stepped forward. He was wearing suit pants, a white shirt, a bag in his armpit, his head was big, and he was very imposing. He stared at Li Yi and said, "You move him today, I'm sure, you can't eat and walk around." Li Yi was not so strong in the face of the webmaster Wang. He opened his mouth and asked, "Who are you? You are busy with your own business here, and don't go out to inquire about my name, Li Yi." "Li Yi?" The station master Wang thought for a while and smiled. This person is indeed a bit famous. He has been on various dining tables all year round. To put it bluntly, he is a matchmaker, and he is not a high-end dinner broker. "It's for people, right?" Station master Wang sneered, "You stare at your dog's eyes to see who I am." Li Yi took a closer look, his heart skipped a beat, and he asked carefully, "From the Grain Bureau?" Station master Wang nodded. Li Yi panicked, hurriedly put on a smiling face, walked up to the front and whispered, "Master Wang, right? Look at this, the flood washed the Dragon King temple, the family doesn't know the family, you and I, what is Lu Feng doing mixed together?" "Young Master Lu, what can you say?" Webmaster Wang frowned. "Lu, young Master Lu," Li Yi was dumbfounded. How high is Lu Feng's identity to be called by the station master Wang? He couldn't imagine. "Don't ask too much, it's not good for you to know too much. It's not that a little person like you can spy on you, understand?" Wang's station master said in a deep voice, "Go and apologize to young Master Lu." Li Yi was frightened enough, his heart beat faster, his throat was a little dry, he took a few deep breaths and walked towards Lu Feng. Seeing this, Li Dafang thought that his younger brother was going to avenge himself, and shouted, "Give me a slap on him." "Shut up," Li Yi suddenly turned his head and scolded, not to mention Li Dafang, even the people around couldn't react. Why did he suddenly lose his temper at his sister? Next, a scene that challenged everyone's nerves happened. Li Yi walked up to Lu Feng and showed a humble smile. He hunched slightly and said, "I'm sorry, my sister has never been to school and is ignorant. Be patient and don't take it to heart." Everyone was shocked when they saw Li Yi's transformation. The expression on his face was a little dull. He didn't know what was going on, but from the way Li Yi faced station master Wang just now, he must have kicked the iron. Bored up. He Yanli witnessed everything in front of her, and there was only one thought left in her mind: Lu Feng really developed. "Okay, don't care about you. How about I invite you to dinner when you are free?" Li Yi asked. Lu Feng glanced at him coldly, turned his head and instructed the station master Wang to let him go back and go upstairs by himself. Li Dafang stepped forward and blamed his brother. "What are you doing? I asked you to help me beat him, and I got slapped again. Sister, stay away from him in the future, this is not someone we can afford, understand?" Li Dafang's head was buzzing, and he really couldn't understand, how could a second bastard not even dare to move his younger brother? He Yanli hurriedly passed through the crowd and went upstairs with Lu Feng. Just as she walked up the stairs, she stretched out her hand to pull the clothes on her chest, tidied her hair, took a few steps and chased after her. "Lu Feng, I want to talk to you, sister." "Matter?" The first release of this book comes from 17K Novel Network, so watch the genuine content for the first time.